What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video, and today we'll be looking at the NBA news for October 3rd. And we have a ton of news today, a ton of big news, and a few rumors in between. This is a big day for NBA news, so you don't want to miss this one. The first big NBA news day we've had in a little bit. So it's a refreshing taste of what it felt like when free agency was happening. So hopefully from now to the NBA season, we are packed with NBA news, and maybe throughout the NBA season we'll be packed with news, but mostly in the NBA season it will sadly just be like injuries and stuff like that. So that's really all we'll be covering, and now we have to focus on now, or the present. So I think we have a total of 3 stories, I believe, and then we have the player of the night, of course, everyone's favorite. And let's get right into it. Let's get right into our first story, which is involving the Jimmy Butler saga. And really, this is our main news story today. We have a ton of news surrounding this because I guess Adrian Wojnarowski was bored last night, and I guess he just wanted to explode NBA Twitter and just explode the NBA in total. So we have a string of tweets here from Woj, and let's just get on to the first one. The first one says that the Timberwolves and the Heat have been engaged in trade talks, and due to context clues, I can believe that Miami made Minnesota a pretty compelling offer, because Miami has been waiting for the offer and actually demanded that they got an answer yesterday, which was today at the time of the tweet. It doesn't matter. But it also says that Minnesota's talks have been kind of put out throughout the league, but they remain focused on making a deal with Miami. And then later last night, the Heat got their answer. Minnesota has asked for Josh Richardson, Bam Adebayo, and a protected 2019 first-round pick from the Heat. Now, this just seems a little bit out of hand. Bam Adebayo had a breakout rookie campaign and has also shown up in the preseason this year. Josh Richardson is one of the best players on that team, although Jimmy Butler is like an upgraded version of him. I think a more realistic offer would be Jimmy Butler for Hassan Whiteside, Dion Waiters, and an unprotected first. If Dion Waiters and Hassan Whiteside are healthy, they bring in more value overall compared to Jimmy Butler. If not, at least Minnesota has the pick, I guess. So you might be asking yourself why Minnesota has asked for this much in return for Jimmy Butler. Well, Woj dropped another Woj bomb later that night, tweeting that Jimmy doesn't want to miss any games, and Thibodeau expects Butler to return once his wrist is fully healed. And with that tweet, many NBA fans knew that Jimmy is staying in Minnesota. With Jimmy being the first to budge, Minnesota has complete power over him until the season is over. For some reason, Jimmy is still willing to play for Minnesota, and with this recent news, I don't expect Butler to get traded unless the offer that Minnesota gets blows them out of the water. It's sad to see this story end like this, and Minnesota said a couple weeks ago, I don't know if you remember this, but a couple weeks ago, they said that they would rather keep Jimmy Butler for one more year as a rental than to trade him. I mean, I hope Jimmy doesn't live up to this. I hope he holds out, because if he holds out, Minnesota absolutely has to trade him. That makes no sense to keep him. I really hope he holds out, and I hope he gets traded, because in Minnesota, it is terrible. He needs to get out of there, and he needs to get out of there fast. And one more part to the Jimmy Butler saga. I told you, we got a lot of news about Jimmy Butler. Milwaukee has let it be known that they aren't interested in Jimmy Butler. And when you really think about it, this doesn't make a lot of sense from Milwaukee. They have extreme assets in Thon Maker and Malcolm Brogdon. They clearly wouldn't mind giving up Thon Maker because for some reason they never play him. And when they do, Thon Maker pops off. He had 5 blocks in the playoffs. I don't know if you knew that, but Milwaukee really wouldn't care about Thon Maker because I don't know why. And although Malcolm Brogdon would be a pretty big hit to that team, you're getting Jimmy Butler in return. Even if it's just a 1-year rental, Jimmy Butler for 1 year is better than Malcolm Brogdon for 5 years. So I don't know why Milwaukee took themselves out of the trade, because they clearly don't have enough talent on their roster to come anywhere close to coming out of the East. They're the 4th or 5th best team, and if they added Jimmy Butler to that squad, they might be the favorites. I mean, honestly, the trio of Bledsoe, Butler, and Giannis would be insane. Plus, they keep Brook Lopez, who's a good role player, I guess. Really depends on how he can shoot. If he can stretch the floor, like we saw a little bit in Los Angeles, we saw a little bit of flashes of him being able to shoot. If he can stretch the floor, I mean, that might be a team to come out of East, because Giannis would have that whole paint open because there's no center in the paint because Brook Lopez is on the perimeter. So I don't know why they did this. Maybe they were asking for too much, because it has been reported before that Minnesota has asked for a lot. And it's still being reported today because they asked for Josh Richardson, Bam Adebayo, and a first-round pick, which is crazy for Jimmy Butler, who doesn't want to be there. But I don't know. I feel like Milwaukee has a ton of assets, and they just got to pull the trigger once. They just got to do it. They did a little bit with Eric Bledsoe. Now they just have to full send it and, try and make it and do something. Because this team right now, this current roster, isn't making it anywhere. They aren't making it out of the East. All right, our next story is a little bit of a, I hate to say it, but it's a little bit of a non-story. As you might have heard, J.R. Smith has a Supreme tattoo or something like that. If you don't know, Supreme's a popular company, clothing. I don't know what they do, but they're pretty popular and they're pretty trendy right now. So the NBA has said that if JR does not cover that tattoo, that they will fine him $10,000 for every game he doesn't cover it up. I think this is ridiculous, and I think a lot of NBA players feel the same as well. Damian Lillard has backed J.R. Smith yesterday, saying something about them controlling his body. He asked if the NBA controlled J.R. Smith's body, which I agree in. The NBA is usually up to date with these kinds of stuff. They usually don't fall behind, like what the NFL has done with the national anthem stuff. Of course, this isn't as serious as that, but the NBA, this is kind of a rare mistake from them. They make a bunch of other mistakes, like being stupid with referees and rules, but this is something that you rarely see. The NBA doesn't, I don't know why they announced this. They let JR wear his Supreme arm sleeve and stuff like that. And actually a lot of players did that, not just JR. But now that it's a tattoo and they aren't letting him, I'm not sure what the deal about that is. Maybe it's product placement or something like that. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but it doesn't make any sense why they would fine him. It really doesn't. I mean, if you look at other people who have tattooed company logos on their body, my first one is CM Punk. I don't know if you know who that is, but he used to be a wrestler in WWE. I'm not sure what he is doing now, but he had a blatant, Pepsi logo on his, well, I hate to say it like this, but it was on his breast, right above his nipple. Okay. And he had his shirt off a lot because he was a wrestler, but I don't see how there's any difference between these two, especially because this Supreme logo, if you look at it, it barely stands out. You can't really see it. And that CM Punk Pepsi logo was clear as day. I bet nobody would be able to notice the J.R. Smith Supreme tattoo if they weren't looking for it. I wouldn't have. I didn't even know he had a Supreme tattoo until I did some research and realized that he actually does have a Supreme tattoo. And it really doesn't make sense. I think this is a bad mistake on the NBA, and a really rare one. That's this type of controversy where the Players Association and, the owners or people in charge are arguing about this kind of stuff. It's kind of rare to see because the NBA is really quick on backing their Players Association, unlike the NFL. And I'm not sure about baseball, but I know the NFL has a major problem with their Player Association, and the NBA just doesn't have that. The NBA is really good at listening to the people that make them money, and they understand that without the players, they would be nowhere. So I hope they can clear this up. I hope this doesn't turn into a huge, big story. I doubt it will. I think the NBA will come to agreements with JR or something like that. But yeah, just kind of rare and kind of odd story right now, but I expect this to be cleared up soon. Alright, so our last story will be about the New York Knicks, or the title and thumbnail. And if you read the title and thumbnail, you know that Kevin Durant it doesn't really involve him. The New York Knicks have emerged as the favorites to land Kevin Durant next offseason. Here we go again. The Knicks are getting the entire NBA next offseason, according to many, since the start of last offseason. The Knicks have made it clear that they are going after Kyrie and Jimmy Butler next offseason, and they're going to duo up, and they're going to go to New York. They're going to team up, go to New York. Well, since then, Kyrie has said that he and Jimmy Butler have not talked about going to New York, and says that he loves it in Boston. And Jimmy has said that Miami is now his new preferred destination. And now you think that Kevin Durant, who's better than both of those guys, will leave the beautiful Bay Area for New York. Not to mention a guaranteed ring and finals MVP every single year. That's what Kevin Durant's getting right now. And he doesn't even have to do much to get those things because he has such a god squad around him. He wouldn't leave that for, dare I say, crappy New York unless things change majorly in the organization. Like, Kevin Knox would have to become an all-star. Chris Stapps would have to be fully healthy. Mitchell Robinson would have to just be replaced with prime Shaq. And I don't know, whatever else. But it's getting to the point where the Knicks are being the boy who cried wolf. They are just saying that they're going to get everyone. They're saying that next year it's going to be great. Everything's going to be awesome. But I believe that we should not believe anything that's coming out of New York camp. Now, I mean, it's possible that Kevin Durant will be going to New York next offseason. I mean, who knows? It's possible. But I doubt they have any sort of reasoning behind that. I bet they have as much reasoning as the Atlanta Hawks have for going to, for Kevin Durant joining their team. It doesn't make sense. I don't know why New York is doing this. They're starting to turn into the Lakers, who said they're going to get Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, which actually happened. But they said they're going to get all those people, and yet they only have LeBron James. So maybe, since the Knicks said they're going to get Kyrie, Jimmy Butler, and Kevin Durant, that they're actually going to get Kevin Durant because he's the best out of all three of them. But they're not going to get anyone else besides a bunch of role players. So I expect Kevin Durant to stay in Golden State, though, honestly. It's nowhere close to the situation LeBron was going through in Cleveland. Like, it was straight chaos in Cleveland. And I bet LeBron knew, like, at this time last year, he was going somewhere else. But Kevin Durant, I expect you to stay. All right, so it's time. Player of the night time. Who will be the player of the night? So we had a few candidates. Andre Drummond, who had, I believe, 31 points and like 16 rebounds or something crazy like that. He was kind of the only one that was competition. And although he might have had a better game, it was not as meaningful as Alonzo Trier. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but he's a basic nobody. He was undrafted. Well, let me go with his stat line first. He scored 25 points and 4 rebounds last night. That helped lead the Knicks to a win over the Brooklyn Nets, I believe. I believe it was a win, but don't quote me on that. It might have been a loss, but if it was, actually, you know what? It was against the Brooklyn Nets. That's what it was. It might have been a win. It might have been loss. But Alonzo Trier, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. I'm repeating it again because it's important that you guys know not to flame me in the comments down below. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but it seems like I'm saying it right. So that's all that really matters. Trier was basically a nobody. He was undrafted last year, and the Knicks swooped him up. And it's looking like the Knicks got themselves a steal. Like, their draft is going extremely well. Kevin Knox has looked good. Mitchell Robinson has looked so good. He has looked really good. And he's someone that, dare I say, all-star? Because the Knicks don't have anyone else. Robinson's going to be the number one guy. And he has looked so good. He's like a more athletic Rudy Gobert with, less shot blocking, less defense, but he is so good and fits, the system New York has perfectly. And him next to Kristaps, well, if Kristaps is healthy, but him next to a healthy Kristaps, that would be a deadly duo. And I'm not 100% bought in on Kevin Knox yet. He hasn't sold to me yet. He hasn't proved that he's the guy. He's not going to be the guy, I don't believe. I don't think he's that good, but I believe in Mitchell Robinson. And Alonzo he's looked good in the preseason, but it is preseason and he has been coming off the bench. Although he hit some good shots last night. He hit a buzzer beater 3-pointer. He was heavily contested, although it was only in the first quarter. So he did hit some good shots. He was almost in control of the offense. It was kind of odd to see because he does play shooting guard, but he acted like a point guard last night, and that's something that's rare out of an undrafted guy he probably thought his career was over. And now he believes in himself so much that he can control an offense of one of the more teams that are watched. The Knicks are one of the most watched teams, and if he screwed up, he would have gotten flamed from everyone as the fans, and maybe he would have had a hitman on him if he messed things up. Maybe not, because it's only preseason, but you get flamed if you mess up as any New York sports team player, but especially as the Knicks, because they have failed so many times. But I guess it's looking up for them. I did flame them in the last story, but things are looking up. If Kristaps comes back healthy, that's the main thing. Kristaps needs to come back healthy. If he comes back healthy, the Knicks are in an alright spot for the next few years. It would definitely take them a few years. They would need a few more good drafts like they had this year. This year was an amazing draft from what we've seen so far, but they're going to need a few more of those. in order to really be a contender in the East. And who knows, maybe the Celtics will still be really good because they have a bunch of young guys. Kyrie's still only like 25 or 26. So the Knicks are actually looking pretty good for their future. And Trier, I don't know if he's going to be starting. I don't know what's going to happen, but he looked really good. And he's someone that should be on the watch for all NBA fans because, I mean, he's a fun player to watch. But he was just off the bench. So that was a really meaningful game and was huge for his career as a New York Knick. So I thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy this video and enjoy staying up with all the news, then leave a subscribe down below. If you don't really care about getting notifications, then you can click the bell button, but check back at 5 p.m. Eastern time every day for your daily NBA news and, you know, all that fun stuff, or rumors, and of course, player of the night, the best part of this video. So thank you guys for watching, and see you